good afternoon. Iran's deputy foreign minister says his country is ready to consider compromises in order to reach a deal with the US over its nuclear program. Majid Takhtravanchi has told the BBC that if America was sincere, an agreement could be reached. He's been speaking to our chief international correspondent, Lise Doucette, in Tehran. She's reporting from Iran on condition that none of her material is used on the BBC's Persian service. These restrictions apply to all international media organisations operating in Iran. We'll hear from Lise in a moment, but first, here's Joe Inwood.
Outside a conference to discuss global security, a huge crowd gathered to call for an end to a regime they see as a source of instability and repression. These Iranians want to see their homeland's theocratic government fall. It's something the US would want as well.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio.
But when America's top diplomat Marco Rubio took to the stage at the Munich Security Conference, he did not mention repression, but instead the country's nuclear ambitions, which are currently under negotiation. Speaking to the BBC's Lise Doucette, Iran's deputy foreign minister said that compromise on uranium enrichment might be possible.
We are ready to discuss this and other issues related to our program, provided that they are ready also to talk about the sanctions. Because sanctions, as we call it, illegal sanctions, those sanctions have to be also on the table. So it has to be a give and take. That is what compromise is all about.
But these negotiations are taking place in the shadow of a huge US military build-up. A second aircraft carrier is heading to the region. Many think that war is coming.
It is not as if that Iran will suffer only. Everybody will suffer, particularly those who have initiated this aggression. If we feel that this is an existential threat, we will respond accordingly.
He says that just weeks after unprecedented resistance and repression inside Iran. Thousands were killed, some of them supporters of the exiled Crown Prince. Back in Munich, he repeated his calls for US military action.
Look, every day that goes by, more Iranians are getting killed at the hand of this regime. The intervention is a way to save lives. It's a humanitarian intervention. And something that could also lead to our liberation.
That view will be contentious, even amongst some who want to see the Iranian government fall. Attempts at regime change through force are never simple and rarely successful. With more talks reportedly planned for this week, it seems diplomacy is being given a chance for now. Joe Inwood, BBC News.
From Tehran, Lise Doucette sent this assessment of the chances of agreement between Iran and the United States.
There's a lot of skepticism over whether a deal can really be done between the Islamic Republic of Iran and the United States of America. It certainly won't be done in the next round of talks in Geneva, as significant as it is that they are meeting. But there's still wide gaps on critical issues, very different negotiating styles. And as we know, President Trump keeps changing his mind. One day it's about regime change, one day there seems to be a threat of war, another it's that he wants to do a deal. But we do know that President Trump would really like a deal. And the only way he'll get that is if these discussions only focus on one issue, and that is the nuclear file. And what is interesting in that interview is that the Iranians seem to think they've won that point.
That's our chief international correspondent, Lise Doucette, reporting from Tehran. The former business secretary, Sir Vince Cable, has called on police to check whether criminal corruption took place while Andrew Mountbatten Windsor was trade envoy. Newly released documents from the US Department of Justice appear to show the former prince forwarded UK government documents and other commercial information to the convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Ben King is with me. Ben, what do we know about these latest claims?
So, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor was the UK's trade envoy from 2001 to 2011, and that role gave him access to top-level contacts from business and government around the world. And it's long been asked whether he used that access to create commercial opportunities for his friends and business associates. And the recently released Epstein files have shed a bit of light on this. In 2010, he appears to have forwarded government reports from official visits to Vietnam, Singapore and China to Epstein. And the same year, he apparently passed on information about Aston Martin and Royal Bank of Scotland to a contact, David Stern, who then passed it on to Epstein. And from a different source, we've also seen emails which suggest that he passed information on about Iceland to a banker contact of his. Now, Sir Vince Cable has called the recent revelations totally unacceptable and called for a government investigation. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor has always consistently denied wrongdoing.
Ben, thank you very much. Ben King. Health officials say several children have been treated in hospital after what they say is a fast-spreading measles outbreak in North London. Around a third of the almost 100 cases of the highly contagious virus reported so far this year in England have been in the London borough of Enfield.
In Enfield, there are pockets of low vaccination uptake, as there are across many areas in London. London has, in comparison to the national picture, a lower vaccine uptake on average, and it is essentially because of that we are seeing the measles outbreak.
Around 1.5 million people in the UK are living with a heart problem known as atrial fibrillation. It can cause it to beat irregularly and too fast. A pioneering treatment, first trialled at Belfast Royal Victoria Hospital, is now being rolled out at some hospitals in England. Marie-Louise Connolly has more.
The procedure involves a day case.
Michael Robinson is being prepped for theatre. At 67, he's living with a condition called atrial fibrillation, which causes an irregular heartbeat, tiredness and shortness of breath. Symptoms can be sudden, even when he's resting.
I was to go on holiday, I had to pull out, went to a wedding reception, had to come home after half an hour.
Michael's treatment has been trialled at Belfast Royal Victoria Hospital since September. More than 60 people have been through the day procedure. Other benefits include patients are sedated instead of anaesthetised, which increases the number of patients who can be seen and the speed of recovery. It's the technique that makes this treatment different. Once sedated, surgeons make a small hole in the patient's thigh where they insert a catheter, which is guided meticulously through blood vessels to reach the inside of the heart. Once there, another hole is made to access the heart chamber. An inflated balloon positions metallic strips to conduct electrical pulses to mend the damaged tissue that's causing Michael's irregular heart rhythms. The old way froze the affected area, which could cause gastric upset. This less invasive intervention is not only critical to managing the patient's condition, but it should improve their quality of life. Medics say making the health service more cost-effective is a constant challenge. Watching on from England, some hospitals there are preparing to roll out the procedure.
Much more efficient for the health service. We do same-day discharge, so we only need a day bed. Patient comes in the morning, about 6 hours later they go home. And they can't drive for 48 hours, and then they're back driving, pretty much back to normal life.
Arriving at breakfast, by tea time, Michael's ready for home.
I felt like about 5 minutes, but it was a lot longer, and truthfully, no pain. I feel great.
Marie-Louise Connolly, BBC News.
Day 9 of the Winter Olympics in northern Italy, and Team GB are hoping today will be the day they win their second medal of the Games. With several potential medal chances, Joe Curry is live for us in Livigno. Joe.
Yes, where the sun is shining. It is a beautiful day and the athletes here are certainly making the most of it. We've already had the men's snowboard slopestyle qualification this morning, but Great Britain's Chema Mazit-Brown, well, he's not through to the final after he failed to land cleanly either of his runs. The women's event does get underway shortly though, with Great Britain's Mia Brooks fresh from finishing semi-final. That's after a fantastic run this morning. Now, Adele Nicol may be more used to throwing. In Cortina later, or Team GB skeleton racers, they'll be targeting the podium once again, this time in the mixed team event. Olympic gold medalist Matt Weston, he'll be back in action 2 days after claiming the men's event. And how's this for a little bit of history to finish on? Norway's Johannes Hosflot Kleibo claimed a 9th Olympic gold medal this morning in a cross-country relay. That makes him the most successful Winter Olympian ever, and he's still got 2 more events to come.
Joe, thank you very much. Joe Curry there in northern Italy. 4 astronauts have docked at the International Space Station to replace a crew that left earlier than planned because of a medical emergency. The new team, made up of 2 men and 2 women from the US, France and Russia, or stay there for 8 months. That's all from me, but there's plenty more on the BBC News website. The next news here on BBC One is at 5:35. Goodbye for now.